Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hello, welcome in second intermission. Avs Hawks in Chicago. That's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. And basically everything that you and I said in the first intermission that the Avs need to do going forward, they did the exact opposite. Big rebound given up from Trent Miner on a little bit of an odd man break. And the Avs find themselves going into the third period down 2-1. They had some stretches where they were able to generate offense, some stretches where they were able to establish the zone. But all in all, Megan, just not at all the type of hockey that you want to see from the Avs. And they even get bailed out a little bit there with a goal that's overturned. We'll get into that. Your thoughts on the second period?
They had, especially in hindsight and by comparison, a strong first period. They make one mistake, it ends up in the back of their net, but they actually had few mistakes in the first. In the second period, though, they let back a little bit on the details. And so I think that led to a little bit more back and forth. You talked about wanting to see them extend zone time, and instead they gave Chicago some more chances at 5v5 that finishes as a period that Chicago spends in Colorado's end just a little bit more. Chicago closes in on that shots battle, creating opportunities, and that just leads to more vulnerabilities on behalf of your rookie goaltender in net. And so 4 or so rebounds allowed in that period. So not just the one that ends up in the back of the net, but in general, Trent Miner is under a little bit of duress. And that's exactly not what you want to see your rookie goaltender, the position that he's placed in.
Well, and on top of that, the Avs felt like in the first part of the period were maybe dialing up that intensity a little bit, establishing some zone time, making Peter Mrazek work a little bit harder. They give up that goal kind of the other way. And really that was the one that you and I both kind of reacted about, wanting to see a little bit better there from Trent Miner, because the Avs did possess the puck for so long. Rush goes the other way just once. It's in the back of the net. And that was where it really felt like the period kind of slipped. I don't know if the Avs started squeezing the stick a little bit, started trying to force things to get the game tied back up. But it felt like everything that they were doing was just leading to worse results and more opportunities for the Blackhawks, more chaos in and around the net. And eventually another goal that got called back. We'll save that one for just another minute. But what did you think about the difference in the version of the Avs that we saw from, let's say, the first 5 minutes to the rest of that period after Chicago got that goal?
It was a complete change. And to your point, the top line just had a great shift in Chicago's end, only for a goal to be scored against a few seconds later. And then from that point is where the ice tilted ever so slightly in Chicago's favor. So I'm not going to be dramatic and suggest this game has been lost by Colorado.
Totally.
I'm just disappointed because Jared Bednar's structure depends on hard work. And I think they just abandoned it a little bit. And this is where the conversation about the Avs maybe playing down to weaker opponents at times, you feel a little bit of that frustration, because this is the exact type of game and the exact type of mistakes that kind of reinforce that. And I don't believe that to be true of this team, but they need to make that distinction that they're not going to rest on their laurels. It was a tie game coming out of the first period. So they weren't even afforded the opportunity to let back a little bit. And so they had a decently strong start, a great power play to start the period. They don't convert on it, but process-wise, they're doing a lot of the right things. They create 3 high-danger opportunities from McKinnon, Middlestat, and Lehkonen that force Mrazek to make saves. All of that, though, in the opening 10 minutes, but you're right, things kind of fall apart after that goal against. And again, it's not a game that has been lost in the second period alone. I just need to see a little bit more. They're so much better than what was shown in the second period. And it's possible they just put together a good first period, and there's no reason for them to be looking a little flat.
I want to talk about Peter Mrazek here, because we were joking in the first intermission that Peter Mrazek seems to play one of 2 ways against the Avalanche: really well or really poorly. That first goal beats him in the first period, and you're like, oh, maybe you're going to get not great Peter Mrazek. Well, just like what we talked about, he looks like he's settling in. He's believing a little bit more. he's a goalie who flops all over the place. He's not very technically sound. He's a very active goaltender. He's all over the place. But right now he's competing and finding ways to make saves. And it feels like that's frustrating the Avs a little bit. And I think they got to take a step back, slow down, get back to basics, get to the front of the net, find rebounds, and make Peter Mrazek's life a little bit more difficult than maybe they did there in that period. But I just want to make another quick comment before I get your thoughts on what the Avs are doing offensively. I actually thought that goal against in the first period was going to be good for them because it felt like they carried a lot of the play for the first 20 minutes. Chicago getting a goal late, I thought was maybe going to be a little bit of like a, hey, wake up. We got to get going here. This is not going to be a lay down game. No playing down to your opponent. Let's get after it. And yeah, to your point, it almost felt like they eased off a little bit. Like, it's 1-1. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. And yeah, they ease back. Thoughts on the Avs in the offensive zone?
To your point, it's 1-1 against Chicago. Doesn't it feel like that's in parentheses in how the Avs responded in the second period? And so from our viewpoint, it's like, yeah, it's a tie game. You shouldn't let back.
Right.
But as far as what they created offensively, it wasn't as meaningful as what they created in the first. I think in part because they actually had shorter shifts in the offensive zone compared to the first period.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just weren't getting as many pucks to the net front. And also Mrazek was coming up with saves. As far as the process, I don't necessarily hate the process, but it's going to take a little bit more effort from what we saw in the second period because Chicago is getting some saves now. And that's kind of the difference maker. You heard on the broadcast, the goals against average for Mrazek is close to 4 and the Avs goal for is close to 4. This is a 2-1 game. The Avs have some work to do, at least if the trends are correct. And that's where I think I want to see them get a little bit more dangerous. To your point, getting pucks to the net and fishing for rebounds of their own, creating a lot more chaos because the way that Chicago has defended in their own end, it's been made possible for the Avs to drive in or ice and do that. So they have to get back to the basics, to your point.
Let's talk about the goal that was disallowed. But first, we've got a super chat in here, Megan. An intermission super chat from Josh, $5 Canadian. Ooh, there we go. Mark's got the super chat desk lights. And there's the dollar signs. Would you look at that? We make it happen everywhere in the studio, Megan. Am I the only one who screams the TV when guys pass the puck instead of shooting in high danger areas? Mike in the first, I'm assuming he means Miko, in the first, and Mac wide open net in the second. No, I don't think you're the only one, Josh, that screams and yells when the Avs, or any hockey player for that matter, passes up on a high danger shot. It was my number one complaint about Alex Newhook. This dude would walk down the slot with 15 feet and look to make a dump off pass to the wall. It always drove me nuts watching him here in Colorado. But no, Josh, you are not the only one. Connor Bedard scores a goal. Chaos in and around the net. A rebound. Trent Miner kicked out, hit off Devontae's pant, fell back in front. Bedard kind of bulldozes his way through the crease, interferes a little bit with Trent Miner, and then ultimately kicks the puck in. You and I were pretty much in agreement from the first replay we saw that was a kicking motion. Had that one stood, would that have been a challengeable play for you if you're Jared Bednar?
Easily. I shouldn't say I had confidence when the refs were conferring because I've been a little nervous after Jared Bednar has made any sort of commentary around goaltenders. But I think that was a pretty easy one to make, a pretty easy call. And honestly, it really favors the Avs, not just because it was the right call, but this was starting to feel out of hand for them. And that is the kind of blessing that they need to take advantage of then, that this game is still well within their grasp, but don't take for granted that you benefited from a little bit of puck luck, if you will, in that situation. Because the way these things usually go, you're probably not getting much more puck luck then. Yeah, no, you're going to have to earn everything the rest of the way here. And someone in the chat is saying, got to give Mrazek credit here too. And maybe we did gloss over that a little bit too much when we were talking about the Avs in the offensive zone. Mrazek has been good, made 3 or 4 pretty nice 10 bell type saves, getting from post to post. He also got a little bit of puck luck there with a quick
whistle in the second period on an Avs power play. Puck was still
stat was pretty upset.
Puck was still very loose, and the ref blows the whistle, kind of ends the opportunity for the Avs. So yes, Peter Mrazek has played very well in this game. I had another thought that I wanted to go to, but just your thoughts on Peter Mrazek.
Yeah, I was going to add to giving Mrazek some credit. I think when you asked me about what the Avs were doing offensively, I actually don't think they've done much differently. There's a better goalie in net right now. He's making more saves than he was in the first period. The expected goals against finishes 2.63 for Peter Mrazek through 2 periods. He's only allowed one, around 6 rebound opportunities that the Avs have created in front of him. And so he is coming up with a few more saves than we saw in the first period. To your point, you've got one goalie on one end in Mrazek, who appears to have settled into this game. And you've got the rookie goaltender in Trent Miner, who's allowing some juicy, dangerous rebound opportunities and looking just a little bit unsettled. To me, I don't have a worry about Trent Miner's athleticism. But to your point, now through 2 periods, I do feel like his reaction time to the pace at which the game is unfolding in front of him is a little bit slower, because I think there is a little shock to the system and how fast this game is happening. And that's where the Avs especially need to recognize that and eliminate then some of those opportunities at the net front by protecting the house better.
And like the other thing I do want to say about Trent Miner, because what I was talking about it in the first period, to me, it's expected. Trent Miner, this is his first NHL start. That's the number one thing that players, whether it be goalies, skaters, coaches, even when moving up to the NHL level, that they always say, the pace is faster than I expected. I knew it was going to be fast. It was faster than I expected. So this is not something that should be surprising when we're talking about Trent Miner here, but he does maybe look a little bit overwhelmed right now in net, and the Avs need to give him some help. Where I was going to take this was to your point about this game is so far from being out of reach. The Avs could win this game 5-2, and I don't think anybody would bat an eye at that being outside of the realm of possibility. But there's a lot they got to start doing better if they want to come out on the right side of this, let alone, to do something like what I just said. There's a lot they got to clean up. There are a lot of details that need to be sharpened, and they need to have the puck on their stick this entire period here. You got to come out and say, we are a better team than the Chicago Blackhawks. We have more talented players. We got a deeper roster. We have better high-end skill. And just take over the game. If you're the Avalanche, that's got to be the expectation here, is take over, and you should have a pretty dominant third period here. If you are going to let Chicago hang in this period at all, I don't like the Avs' chances of getting this game tied and anything beyond that, truthfully. If you're going to let Chicago continue to dictate as much pace as they have, maybe even if it's not, whistle to whistle, you can't let Chicago play with the puck as much as they have. You've got to assert your dominance being a much better team than the Blackhawks.
And without being dramatic over a single second period, only down 1 goal, this plays into the issue of they still need to simply tie this game. You want this done in regulation. They've got another game tomorrow night.
Yes.
So this is where they have not made their lives easy for themselves. And it's frustrating. You don't want to see them leave any points on the table in a back-to-back, and they're not setting themselves up for success by resting on their laurels even just a little bit in the second period. Where I will give them some credit is a good PK against a decent power play team. I mean, Chicago's special teams this year weirdly have been pretty good, pretty decent. And so both teams get a man advantage opportunity. Avs structurally did the right things on their power play opportunity. I'd rather they just stay disciplined the rest of the way, but we've seen the way in which a good PK can galvanize this team. I hope that that kind of energy is something that they can channel going into the third period. Stay disciplined, bring the energy. I think that's the issue I have, is it has felt just a little bit lacking after what was such a good start, even in the second period. The top guys, that extended zone time that we saw early in that period, you remarked on it when you saw it. You said they need more shifts like that. That's exactly what I want to see. You don't need to be scoring on every single one of them, but you've got to just start playing with that puck on your stick a little bit more and start wasting Connor Bedard shifts. You know what I mean? Like, make Connor Bedard chase you around the defensive zone for 90 seconds and then have to get off. That's what I want to see the Avs start doing here, because they are the better team and they haven't played like it so far to this point. And that, like you said, is what causes the question to be begged every so often. Does this group play down to its opponents? The Avs have an opportunity here in the third to come out and kind of squash that a little bit. But
through 2 periods, fair criticism.
Absolutely.
Fair criticism.
It's a pretty level game at this point for anyone to take and run away with. And Chicago has the easy path forward because they have the goal right now. So I still need to find the tying goal, but they need to find even more than that if they want to secure the points.
Yep. Take advantage of this being a young team who might have the tendency to sit back a little bit here and try to avoid giving the game away. If you're the Avs, you got to take it to them a little bit.
This is where is the experience group between the two. That experience needs to take over the rest of this game. I want to see the maturity that is such a staple in Colorado's game take over the rest of the way.
Last thing before we are set to drop the puck on the third period, Nathan MacKinnon got a little bit dinged up in the second there. Looks like maybe his ankle got caught in the boards a little bit. He limped off, was slow to get up, talked with the trainer a bit, but eventually we saw it. You could see on the broadcast, told him, I'm good, I'm fine. He was back out there for his regular shifts. I guess we'll see if for some reason he doesn't come back out for the third, but something to keep an eye on. Nathan MacKinnon got a little bit banged up.
Yeah, in watching it, my gut tells me it hurt in the moment, but he'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding on to that optimism around it, that it just did not feel good in the immediate, but he's okay to resume playing as we saw and finish out this game, because not that they need him. I hope they don't need him. I hope the Avs play in such a way that they don't need Nathan MacKinnon to win this game, but not because he's hurt.
I think they're going to need him. I was actually just about to say he seems to me like the kind of guy that needs to break through, get this game tied, and then I'd love to see what you talked about in the first period, in the first intermission, Megan, get that depth going. But right now, I do feel like they are going to need, whether it be Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar, they're going to need one of those top guys to break through here, get things tied so that they can get things back on the rails. They're not too far off, not terribly far off the rails. Get things back on and then go from there. If I'm Jared Bednar, that's the message. We are getting ready to drop the puck on the third period in Chicago. We'll be back right here post-game to break down everything that happens in this third period, and we'll take a larger look at all of it. So we will see you guys then. Thanks so much. She's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. Mark behind the glass here tonight hanging out with us. We will talk to you guys in a little bit. Thanks so much.